just think you're seeing he's the perfect example of a guy that you take late in the draft because of his physical gifts. He's got tremendous intelligence, right? So you got a smart guy with physical gifts coming from a small school, entering the big pond, right? And having to figure out what that means and the physicality that comes with that and the consistency that we need out of him to be the passing attack that we want to be. So he makes a jump from year 1 to 2. Now from 2 to 3, you see the confidence. You see the chest out. You see just how he carries himself. Like he believes that he's like those other two guys. And he's making steps to get there. And in a lot of other buildings, he would have the opportunity that a T. Higgins has. And so when you don't have that same volume, he knows that when the ball does come his way, he's got to take advantage of it. And I just think you've seen the confidence grow. Super proud of his progression, and I think you're only going to see him continue to get better.
If all of the receivers in your stable of receivers perform the way you think they will, how difficult could they make your job in terms of deciding who the 3 is, who the 4 is?
The good kind of difficult. Yeah, that's the kind of difficult you sign up for. And it's not difficult. It's my job. I mean, that's the job. It's here are the ingredients. Make the meal. You know, how do you? And we got some really good ingredients. So we're gonna figure out ways to keep them all involved. That's what the off season's for. That's why we have really smart coaches on staff who have their own areas of specialty, who spend a lot of time working on that, and who bring great ideas to the table. So
how different are their skill sets at this point?
All the 3 receivers, or
4.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, Jamar's Triple Crown winner. He does everything. T is close behind him in terms of his game-changing ability. You guys just look at the stats of how we play when they're both on the field, in terms of a vertical stretch, in terms of the way he can separate from a 6'4" guy that weighs what he weighs and moves the way he moves. Not normal. Dre can do everything, right? We put him in all 3 spots. We ask him to do everything. He does the dirty work. He can also win in man coverage when they decide to double team Jamar and T. We got a winner in Dre, we got a winner in Mike Gesicki, and we got a winner in Chase Brown. So, good luck.
Have you seen kind of Burrow push himself, kind of trying to thread the needle over the middle and kind of see what he can do and see what he can get away with, and he's getting away with it?
Yeah, I think you could characterize it that way. I just see a guy that's seen a lot of football, played a lot of football, has absolutely no fear whatsoever, total comfort and confidence in himself and in his skill set. And if there's a window, he's going to throw the ball on it. Like, doesn't matter how big it is, he's going to make the throw, and there's been a lot of really tight window throws that he's made.
What's something you'd like to see in the run game?
Yeah, I think there's certainly room to grow there. I think we made strides at times last year. You know, I think what we look like that'll kind of work itself out during training camp, because there's some different directions that can go without getting too lost in the weeds. We have to continue to be able to take advantage of when teams dedicate resources to stopping the passing attack, i.e. shell coverage and creating, 6 5.5 man boxes. Those are things that we have to be able to take advantage of. So that just means we don't have to do every run scheme in the world. We can make sure our universe is just the right size, rep it over and over and over again, and then just execute consistently up front. And I believe in Chase Brown. I think he's a top 10 back in the league, so I think he'll do the rest.
If you can get the backs involved in the pass game as well, how much more dynamic is that? Is that a big focal point for you all this season, to try to see what they can do in the pass game as well?
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, like Chase is another guy who kind of fits in the same category as Yoshi. Like the progression's natural. He's got a well-rounded skill set. I think he obviously contributed in that phase a lot last year as well. And so you start to see, well, what else could we do? Where else could we put him? And all along you have to. There does come a point where you have to focus your resources and make tough decisions, because there's a lot of good ideas, and you just have to decide which are the ones that we need to invest time in. But yes, getting the backs involved in the pass game is something we intend to do.
Is right guard likely to be Cody Ford or Lucas Patrick in the training camp battle?
I think it'll be a good battle, and those guys are 2 competitive guys that know what NFL football looks like, and I look forward to seeing how that plays out.
Since you've been here, training camp's been in the afternoon. It's going to be in the morning for practice. From your vantage point, why the change? Why do you think it would be beneficial?
I think I've never been somebody who is a big proponent for like change for the sake of change, but in this case, it's not gonna hurt, and it's when you've been together for as long as we have, shuffling something that's simple, that is inexpensive, I think it's good. I think, from a logistical standpoint, it can sometimes help with the heat a little bit for the players. I think the players are probably happy. From a coaching standpoint, it does affect how you prepare. You go from having a walkthrough in the morning to prep for an afternoon practice to now your walkthroughs the night before to prep for a morning practice. So just the flow of your day and how you organize meetings and how you plan ahead, that it does kind of have a significant impact on that, but it's just getting used to the new schedule. So I'm excited about it. We'll see how it goes.
Just following up on that, every time we've asked Joe about starting faster, he's really taken onus and said it's really on the players to play better, not so much changes that Zach could make or anything. How much of that do you think is true in that you said you just want to change things for the sake of changing, but how do you get them to play better without changing a lot of what you know works?
Well, I would expect Joe to say that, and I think it is our responsibility too. I think everybody needs to look at what piece do we share, and how can we affect the outcome and move it in the direction we need to move it. So, sure, yeah, they got to play better. We got to coach better. We got to plan better. We have to make sure that we're coming out of the gates with the intensity and the focus that we need to come out of the gates with. At no point over the last 3 years or whatever it is has it felt like we've lacked in that area. So but the results are the results. So you got to be self-critical and look at what can you do differently, and then just focus on the day-to-day, making sure we're exactly where we need to be, operating on all cylinders when the ball kicks off week 1. And there's anything that gets in the way of that, we got to minimize, and we just got to push forward.
What has it been like for you to know that all of your weapons this offseason pretty much unchanged, coming back with the consistency and
Continuity's huge. Yeah, it gives you a sense of comfort as a coach, and it's nice because you can really work to build on. Each year's a new year, right? So that much is true. But one of the first things we talked about as a unit when we got together this spring was there are very few offenses in the league that have the experience and the time and the reps together that we have. So don't apologize for that. Take advantage of that. Build on the foundation that currently exists. And I think we've done that this spring. So it makes you feel good, but you have to use it. Don't if someone's giving you a head start in the race, don't go back and start with everybody else. Take the damn head start and use it. And that's what we're trying to do.
How do you mentioned your confidence in Chase. How do you see kind of the rest of that room supporting him? Kind of in the
Jamar Chase or Chase Brown?
Chase Brown.
Chase Brown?
Running back there.
Yeah. Love having Samaje back in the fold. Really smart, pro, tough. I could, every superlative I could give to Samaje. Like coaches are going to love the dude because that's just how he's built. I think he meshes well with Chase. Taj has been excellent. He's a rookie. He's going to do some rookie stuff, but really, really happy with him. I think he's a guy in most years gets selected higher than where he got selected. He's a deep running back draft, so we're fortunate we got a chance to take him. And then after those, those guys, it'll kind of shake out. We'll see with Zach and the other young guys, and just kind of go from there.